Chen is the founder and managing director of Silverbear Capital, and the company is based in Hong Kong. So Peter has a frontline view of the investment landscape. And Peter, great to have you here. Welcome back to the U.S. It's great to see you. So this is your first trip to the U.S., really since the pandemic began, right? So do you feel like the investment landscape has changed in Asia over that time?
Yes, obviously the COVID situation had took Southeast Asia to another type of journey, which is basically unexpected with every economy that there is. Although Southeast Asia has been a very active player in the worldwide economy, and we were actually surprised how the COVID had actually hit China harder than it had, and therefore the shift of the momentum had actually evolved quite a bit to a number of the other countries around the Southeast Asia region, resulting in a very surprising, I would say, competition that we have never anticipated.
Interesting. So yeah, because I have heard a lot of talk about Singapore, and then also Vietnam, I know has been gaining some business as well. So you think maybe they benefited from China being closed so long?
Yes, Singapore definitely was a magical winner in all this, because of for various reasons, a lot of the I would say people, ideas, capital had actually moved to Singapore, and the China being the main driver for the Southeast Asia economy had actually had done some good numbers, but the leading momentum road seems to actually shift towards Singapore a little bit during the pandemic, which is actually a surprise.
Do you think that presents a new opportunity?
It is. It's definitely a new opportunity, and a no one as well, because actually Singapore has a very conservative role to be played in the Southeast Asia economy, especially financial economy. But this old business model that they have actually worked out pretty fine during COVID time.
Well, and it's interesting too, because Asia is very diverse. I mean, you've got China and then Hong Kong and Vietnam, and I know Apple is starting to do some production in Vietnam, and as you mentioned, Singapore is run differently from some of the other Asian countries. I mean, do you see potential growth in any other areas besides Singapore?
It's very good that you brought up Vietnam. So Vietnam has been actually a very aggressive player in the Southeast Asia region, and they're both very stabilized in politically right now. So they actually have a very good, I would say, based as a country to actually perform. The tourism is building up, so they're opening up. All the other countries besides Vietnam is actually helping. For example, Cambodia actually is adjacent to Vietnam, which basically also had helped Vietnam to build up its kind of name on the streets.
Yeah, well, I was in Vietnam in 2019, and they were really working hard on, especially tech companies, really trying to kind of boost blockchain and things like that in Vietnam. So they're working hard to bring business there.
Yeah, and then actually there are a lot of the manufacturers from China actually are also moving to Vietnam. This is actually quite actually a transformation for the Chinese manufacturing owner to do that, because since the 20, 30 years ago, whereby when China actually had enjoyed the manufacturing kind of era, had finally reached a stage whereby the economy are rich enough so that people do not want to work in a factory anymore.
Okay, I see.
And Vietnam obviously had provided the labor force required for such a transformation, and both the economy is stable enough for it to become an exporter, say to worldwide. Logistics are pretty mature, so this actually is quite interesting to see how Vietnam has been able to position itself across globally with China and the rest of the world with regards to this supply chain that they're creating.
And when I think of Southeast Asia, I think of young youth. I mean, those are very young countries with a lot of kind of upside potential, very digitally savvy. I mean, do you look at that as an investment opportunity?
Yes, actually the technology side is also very interesting in Vietnam. The labor force is pretty mature with regards to actually in putting together the digital side of the business. So let me give a few examples that we had some good momentum there. Is the back end technology will usually use a lot of the Vietnamese outsourcing companies to help us, and animation for movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I did not know that. Besides tech, are there other sectors that you look at for investments in Asia?
Right now, we're still looking at the hybrid model for EV, and between EV and hydrogen. Hydrogen cars hasn't really arrived yet, and there's quite a bit of momentum still with the EV. We're looking at biotech as usual, healthcare, technology, yes, but we're kind of leaning a little bit more on the AI right now with regards to technology. So the artificial intelligence scene is coming through as we speak. So I think it's something that we're definitely looked into.
Now we're seeing a big push renewable energy here in electric vehicles. You're also seeing that in Asia, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yes, it's huge. And you mentioned hydrogen, which I understand still takes about 95% fossil fuels to actually produce. So even though that's promising, it's not quite where it needs to be yet. But do you think that'll be a growth in the future?
Yeah, it will, because we got actually quite a number of deals right now that are moving towards hydrogen. And if you take a look at the EV solutions for, say, a particular city, the public transportation has actually tried to adapt the EV scenarios in various countries, including London, Hong Kong, China, and the EV technology is, although mature, they are still trying out some other hydrogen solutions. So if you travel to London today, you will see some hydrogen city bus.
Oh, interesting. And lithium, too, is being mined in Asia for these electric vehicles. So that could be a source for this global EV push that we're seeing.
Correct. The supply chain towards EV, including the mining of lithium, but again, this is again a question whereby everybody is asking themselves, mining lithium, using lithium as a power source for EV, is it a true renewable solution?
Right, I know, that's another big question. So let's talk about geopolitical tensions. They're getting a lot of attention, US and China, a lot of words back and forth. I mean, do you think this will escalate? And if so, what does that mean for the investing landscape globally?
I think the tension is there because obviously there is a ongoing economical conflict in between different countries. The tension, I think, is actually a good thing because it would actually help everybody to seek the opportunity in between the tensions. For example, the tension between China trade war and the US had created opportunities for Vietnam, had created opportunities for Indonesia, had created opportunities for Jordan, who actually have a free trade agreement between US and Jordan.
Really?
So actually these are things that as investors would actually be able to enjoy through the tension that are actually being created in between, because without the tension, actually these opportunities would not be made available in a normal situation.
So the supply chain kind of got more diversified.
Exactly.
I think as a result of these tensions.
Exactly.
People are moving some things to Vietnam, as you mentioned, Jordan, which is the first I've heard that. That's really interesting. So, well, any final thoughts about Asia and how things look, say, over the next decade?
Asia is going to be the early guys to actually recover from the COVID globally. It also has the necessary elements for it to actually perform. We're talking about Korea, we're talking about Indonesia, we're talking about Vietnam, Thailand also a location whereby actually it would drive pretty quickly. China already is an engine. So it's a matter of having them to switch gear again after the COVID. India, working very closely with the Asian countries.
Yeah.
So although it's not really an Asian country of an Asian country, but again, it's quite a powerful machine.
Yes.
That would drive and help Southeast Asia to drive.
Yeah, some really interesting things going on in some of these Asian countries. That's could propel things in the future. So,
Absolutely.
thank you, Peter, so much for your insight.
Thank you.
Thank you.